everyone, this is Shelly Kemp with Empowering Yourself Through Innovative Practices, EYTIP Self-Empowerment LLC. I want to say welcome back to those of you who tuned in last week and you heard this accent and you were like, I want some more of that. Or you are watching for the first time. If you're wondering, where in the world is she from? I'm from Oklahoma originally, and I live in Houston, Texas, and I can't get away from this accent. So just love me for who I am. This is my second episode in the Living a Purpose-Filled Life series, and we are going to talk about grudges. Who do they hurt? Well, grudges are painful. I've held a few in my day, and I am so sorry for anyone that I might have offended, whether it was always unintentional. And for those of you that I've held a grudge against, again, I'm sorry. It is not a good place to be, to hold a grudge and to carry that burden around. And I am going to charge you today with letting go and moving forward. Let somebody else carry that baggage, and you just have that peace that I have. When I finally learned to let go and just move on, I have become so empowered, and I'm pursuing my life purpose, and part of being in a purpose-filled life and living it is not carrying the burden of grudges and anger. A little bit about where my grudge came from. When I was 23, my mom died of a prescription drug overdose, and interstitial pneumonia. The drugs and the pneumonia worked together to suppress her breathing, and she died. Her husband was charged with her murder. It took years of my grandmother just pursuing justice and us going through the court system, and then him being found not guilty by a jury of his peers to resolve that issue. And if you go through something like that, it's really never resolved until you're able to move forward. And to move forward for me was learning how to forgive. I had to forgive him. I forgave my mom. I was angry at my mom because I felt was a smart, beautiful woman who allowed some things to happen. So I had to forgive that. I was angry at myself because I was angry at my mom, and I had to forgive myself too. And I was so mad at him. And, just letting go of that and moving forward was so liberating. And, you are looking at someone who now has, my measuring stick's pretty long. Having been through that and using that as my measuring stick for pain, I have found that if I can let go of that, I can let go of just about anything. So sit back and relax and let me tell you about my two aunts. I had two great aunts that were part of a family of 17. They lived about 3 doors down from each other, one on one side of the street and then 2 doors down on the other side. And their porches, if either one of them walked out on the front porch, they could have seen each other from the front porch. But these two great aunts had such animosity towards each other. They were grudge holders from way back, and they just held on to this anger for so many years. It was decades that these two women wouldn't talk to each other. Now that's sad because, your sister is your built-in best friend. You know, that's your confidant. That's the person that you go to when things are their happiest in times of sorrow. You know, your sister is the one that you should be talking to about it. But these two women made the choice to hold on to a grudge that drove a wedge between them, and it stayed there until the day of their death. They died on the same day, hours apart from each other. Going into the funeral home, you know, it was a small town, so the funeral home choices were limited. But going into the funeral home, there they both were. They had died hours apart, and their funerals were just maybe a day apart, and they were buried in the same cemetery, not far from each other. So, you know, here they were, opposed in life and united in death. It was such a tragedy to me that this happened. And it was a tragedy, you know, to everyone around them too, because, you know, it was my great-grandma's sisters, and she left her sisters, and she could never sit down with all of them in the same room because of this issue. I also want to talk about things that can happen in friendships. When you have a group of friends and, you know, maybe you're out and about and one of the group says something to somebody else in the group, and this person takes offense, it can drive a wedge between all the parties, because people in a group feel like they have to take sides. And, you know, you don't want to be a part of that. You know, if everyone who's been in relationships and friendships probably has experienced that at some point, whether you were a witness and you felt like you had to choose a side, or you were the person holding the grudge, or the person who caused the offense. But I'm going to charge you with, you know, if you want that relationship or that group relationship to continue, then do something about it. Step up, apologize, let go, forgive. You know, we have so few opportunities in life to build these relationships and build our tribes. And I encourage you, if you've, you know, found yours and, you know, you're on the outs, to work through it. I also want to talk to you about issues that happen in organizations. Being part of an organization, you know, there are issues all the time. You know, when you have very intelligent people working together, then, you know, someone could take offense easily. But when you have two stakeholders that are opposed, and, you know, the conflict arises between these two stakeholders, and they're not able to come up with their conflict resolution or resolve this issue, it is your responsibility as an organizational leader to take charge. And here's how you do it. There are probably rules or policies and procedures in place for conflict resolution within your organization, whether it's a business or a school or a volunteer organization, whatever it may be. There should be some rules in place, and if there's not, and then, you know, you as the organizational leader need to create something, because when you have conflict in your organization and there's no resolution, it can affect your bottom line. It can affect the climate and the culture of that organization. It can drive a wedge between the stakeholders, all the stakeholders involved. It can affect your profit if it's in a business. It can affect your grades if it's in a school. You don't want that to happen. It can affect, you know, your volunteers coming into your organization. If you are not able to resolve the conflict, a plan needs to go into place between the stakeholders. If those stakeholders are still holding a grudge and we're not able to resolve this issue, then you as the organizational leader have a responsibility to assist those people to find work elsewhere, find other volunteer opportunities. You know, they need to be encouraged to move on if they're not able to let it go and they're not able to work together. So, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Next week, I am going to have, this week I'll be taping my brother. He's coming in and hopefully I can get him to sit down with me because I want to talk about he's living a purpose-filled life. He has 2 careers and they're going on simultaneously. And he is living the dream. So tune in next week. I hope you've enjoyed yourself, and I want to charge you again with forgive if you can forgive, but don't hold a grudge. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and if you would like to chat with me about this, you can reach me at EYTIP@selfempowerment.online. That is my email address. Or you can go to my website, which is https://selfempowerment.online. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you are watching this on Facebook, if you are watching this on my website, please give me a like and also subscribe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.